Hello, hello, hello. So today I am talking about the king of R&B, R. Kelly. Recently, he was moved from a Chicago prison to a medium security prison in North Carolina. The reason is unknown, but R. Kelly's lawyer, Jennifer Bonjean, who successfully got legendary actor and comedian Bill Cosby's conviction overturned, submitted an appeal for R. Kelly's 2021 conviction of sex trafficking in a federal court in Brooklyn, New York. His lawyer is contesting the conviction, stating he was not a part of an enterprise, so the conviction is invalid. She said, and I'm quoting, "This case was overcharged," alleging that the prosecution may have been overzealous in convicting the R&B legend to make an example of this high-profile case. And it looks like the appeal is promising. Hello, my name is Tamika, and whether you stumbled upon Junkie for a Story or are here by intention, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, please give it a like and subscribe by the end. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications so you won't miss out whenever I release new videos. Also, for this episode, I used various sources on the internet, one of them being Yahoo News. Another is the Griot, Making the Case with Yadid, and the legaldictionary.net. And now, on to the video. So Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison last June after his September 2021 conviction in federal court in Brooklyn, New York. Earlier this year, Kelly's sexual abuse indictments in Illinois were dropped, with Illinois State's Attorney Kim Foxx citing the extensive sentences handed down in the Kelly's federal case in New York. He was also sentenced to 20 years in prison in a separate federal child pornography case. He's set to serve most of that time concurrent to his 30-year sentence for sex trafficking in New York. This is stated in an article from Yahoo News. Kelly's lawyer, Jennifer Bonjean, argues that this was not a RICO or racketeering statute violation. She emphasizes in many interviews there is no enterprise, and the New York District Attorney's Office misused the RICO requirements to build a larger case than what was warranted for his offenses. Bonjean, her arguments imply that the prosecution had a weak case, and in order to seek justice for his victims, and possibly feeling pressure to send a message in a Me Too era, they grasped at RICO straws to convict him of enterprising crimes as if he was one and the same as a mafia king or drug lord. And just to give you a definition of the RICO law, this is from the legaldictionary.net. Racketeer Influenced and Corruption Organizations Act. That is what RICO stands for. And it is a law that allows the government to punish individuals associated with criminal activity, particularly racketeering, and specifically the leaders of crime organizations. Before RICO law existed, crime bosses would order their minions to carry out crimes for them, and then the bosses would claim innocence if the police found out about it. So this is the law that the New York State's Attorney's Office used to convict R&B singer R. Kelly. And like I said, his appeal looks promising considering the prosecution had an extensive witness list that looked like overkill on their part. The appeals court could rule it was prejudicial given that those witnesses were used to defame R. Kelly's character, but many of the crimes they introduced in court, he was not charged for. So it just looks like you're pounding on character assassination attempts in order to convict him of another crime. Because they already had their, I believe it was 3 witnesses for the crime that he was being charged with. So those witnesses, that was more than enough to establish his character, to use those witnesses. But then in addition to those witnesses, they used all these other women and family members, work associates, etc., to build his character and say that he's just a bad guy. And it did seem like overkill. It did seem like overkill. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I chose not to follow the case, though I did hear, news here and there about it. I did not watch the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, but I remember when his ex-wife, Andrea Kelly, was on that reality show back in the day, talking about how he treated her, and nobody believed her then. At that time, she was the only one brave enough to go public with her horrific story about R. Kelly. Then years later, more stories similar to hers were revealed, and people eventually started to listen. Sometimes you got to be the first. R. Kelly's legal team, let's talk about that. So he is being represented by Jennifer Bonjean, who, as I stated earlier, is the one who got Bill Cosby's conviction overturned. And so she was on Making the Case with Yadid, and the host asked her, I'm quoting, "As women attorneys, we're assumed to have more empathy for accusers, and so there's a lot more pressure on us on who we choose to represent than, say, male attorneys. Is that fair?" And Bonjean's answer was, I'm quoting, "I think it's a little ridiculous. Women are capable of anything. We're capable of being president. We're capable of being vice president. We're also capable of bad because we're human." And I thought this was an interesting question to ask, because I'm sure with the public watching this case as it continues, especially women, we do look at those female defense attorneys and giving them a hard eye roll, okay? I mean, obviously everyone deserves adequate and competent legal counsel. And we are supposed to go with the mindset of innocent until proven guilty. So being a woman attorney, it shouldn't come with this extra baggage of you having to choose a specific client because he's a good person, because I don't know, how many clients would you have? I mean, yeah, if we really look into the character of the person, then there's many reasons we could come up with for why that person shouldn't be represented by a woman. But I do think men who find themselves, well, high profile men who find themselves in this position, they choose female attorneys strategically because there have been a number of them. I mean, obviously there's Bill Cosby, there's R. Kelly, and I can't think of that woman, Gloria something, who tends to find herself in these cases. And female attorneys, they make a name for themselves in these cases. Okay, her name came to me now. So I was trying to think of Gloria Allred and her daughter Judy Bloom, who both of them have built their careers on these type of cases. And there was the former host of Q, John Gameshi, who also hired a female lawyer to defend him in his high-profile case that was similar to this R. Kelly case. Well, not really similar, but he was being accused of sex crimes. And so when you think about female lawyers, I do think it's a strategy that male celebrities use to appear phylogenistic. And maybe it does look like it has been auspicious for some. So we know that for sure. But when R. Kelly's lawyer, Jennifer Bonjean, was talking about the unfairness that comes with being a female lawyer, it got me thinking about my being a fan of R. Kelly's. And well, I grew up in a household where R. Kelly was played all the time. I mean, if you are Black and grew up in the 90s, you know, he was heavily rooted in R&B music in the 90s. Not only was he like the number one guy at that time, but with his music, but he also was making good music as a producer for other R&B and hip hop acts. So if you are a fan or were a fan of 90s R&B and hip hop, you know how entrenched he was in the music of that time. So it's hard to separate yourself from the music versus the man, I guess. And at times I start to think what our place is as women when we are supporting men who appear to be bad guys in a way that we just need to take a stance. When we talk about Black Voices Matter, when we as women are supporting celebrity figures who, in an abrasive way, are letting you know that they are not uplifting Black women, it makes us have to then question our intentions when we support people like that. Because if we're going to say Black Voices Matter and the media doesn't care about Black women and all of that stuff, if we're going to have those conversations, then we also got to be upfront about our fandoms and the spaces we spend time in that are not conducive to uplifting Black women. So I had to, I'm not even sure what I call it, but I had to, I guess I'll say, I kind of slow ghosted R. Kelly. So because I think he's one of the few artists who I had every CD, every tape, everything he came out with. Not that I bought it now. I mean, you know, I'm one of 5 kids, so, and then I had my parents, right? So we had a household of 7. Somebody was going to buy an R. Kelly CD at some point, okay? So I didn't buy them all, but he's one of those where he made reliable R&B music. So my sisters, brothers, and my parents, we all enjoyed his music, but around the early 2000s, I had to step away from R. Kelly. So that's even before all of these trials and accusations and stuff came out. I just noticed something wasn't right with him. And so I had to step away. But because I had all of this history with his music, I just couldn't let that history be evaporated from my mind so quickly, you know? So I had to do I guess I'm gonna call it a slow ghosting, you know? I had a trickle down effect of removing his music from my life. And it was quite sad because he is such a talented artist. And I do have fond memories of his music. I've never seen him live, and I probably wouldn't just because I know what from the videos. I mean, I wouldn't want to see that live. But still, I have fond memories when I hear his songs, some of them, you know. And so it's sad to see his legacy descend into what it has become. Still, as a woman, as a Black woman, I just got to step away now. You know, I just got to. And I'm not saying he's guilty of anything. I'm just saying I personally have to check out now, okay? As a fan, I got to go. But, you know, in order for it to take effect, I had to do it gradually. I had to do it incrementally, okay? And so that got me to thinking about just celebrities in general who have messy personal lives. And when you just realize that their character doesn't align with yours in a way that you can no longer support them and their artistry. And so, yeah, I'm asking you, when you make that realization, do you, because years ago, and not that it was that long ago, but we used to always talk about canceling people, canceling celebrities, and celebrities were fearful of being canceled. So they behaved and spoke in a certain way, and sometimes they would go silent on a subject out of fear that if they responded, they might get canceled. But now I don't really think it's good to just outright cancel a celebrity because whatever the behavior, whatever the act is, you may have misconstrued it. So when you cancel someone, it's rather abrupt. So that's why I say slow ghosting is the way to go. Because if you slow ghost, you got time to still observe, review, and reflect. So you're not saying, you know, you no longer are a fan of this person. You're just saying, you know, you're not as vigorous or vibrant in your fanaticism. That way, if you need to get back, or if you choose to get back in, you know, you don't look like a flip flopper. Because sometimes we cancel people and it may be, you know, I look at it and I'm just like, you know what, I think that's a bit too harsh. You know, I'm not going to name no names now because I might be wrong, but I'm just observing from the sidelines and I'm just like, maybe they didn't, maybe that was too strong a reaction to the offense. So, you know, it's okay to take a step back and say, you know what, I'm going to take a break from this celebrity and then reassess in a little while. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this real quick. If you liked this episode, please give me a like, comment, subscribe if you choose. So hopefully you like this. Comment, let me know what you think about R. Kelly and his appeal. Are you still a fan of R. Kelly's? Are you someone who separates the music from the man and you can still listen to his music, but you're just like, I can't get on board with all this extra stuff, which is understandable. You know, you can like the music or can you? I don't know. What is the politically correct behavior in polite society? You tell me. Okay, so I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you for listening and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.